those threads together and how we, continue to think about it, it affects different generations, but still has a lasting impact on all of us.
9/11, as it relates to me, is I am a part of this country, and it was a drastic thing that happened to this country.
So it's doubly tragic to see both the impact on the country and specific residents within the country. So I've had a lot of family friends who are impacted by it.
Had to kind of come to terms with how we stay a unit with very strong different beliefs about the state that our country was in.
Say thank you for your service.
Wanted to stop by, give you guys a thank you card for your service in remembrance of 9/11.
Put this up in my sub so all the other guys can see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
As to how this happened, well, the FBI is looking into reports that a plane was hijacked, and there are indications that it may have been a Boeing 767 out of Boston.
I was on the 36th floor of Building 1. All of a sudden, it was like an earthquake.
I got down to Church Street. I was standing right in between the two towers, which, as you can see on your television screen, the smoke, the black smoke and fire is just pouring out. I spoke to a number of people on the way. People are in absolute panic. They were running away from the building. They were screaming.
I just saw a second plane come in from the south and hit the south tower, halfway between the bottom and the top of the tower. It's got to be a terrorist attack. I can't tell you anything more than that. I saw the plane hit the building.
2 airplanes crashed into both 110-story towers of New York's World Trade Center after reportedly being hijacked. Just minutes after that attack, an explosion rocked the Pentagon here in Washington.
When it hit, it created a huge smoke, not a fire.
Huge ball of fire came up over the building.
Many federal government buildings in Washington have been evacuated, and traffic in the city is gridlocked with people fleeing in droves.
A hijacked plane crashed in Pennsylvania this morning, not far from the West Virginia border.
There were 5 crew members, 2 pilots, and there were about 38 people on the airplane.
The tower is down completely, according to our producer. The side of the tower has come down onto the street.
It's gone. It blew up. I don't know. I came down. I'm alive. I just want to know if my wife is alive.
And New York Mayor Rudolph Giuliani says a tremendous number of lives have been lost in the apparent terrorist attacks at the World Trade Center.
People hurt. Children without mothers and fathers tonight.
People are doing everything that they can to rescue as many people as possible, and this is going to be a long-term effort.
When I saw those buildings collapse, I knew there were cops and firemen in there, and I just, my heart just goes out to the families, and it's just a horrible, horrible tragedy.
The resolve of our great nation is being tested. Make no mistake. We will show the world that we will pass this test. God bless.
I'm joined today by a man who can best be described as the heart and soul of service. John Bridgeland is the founding director of Freedom Corps. Before that, he was the head of the Domestic Policy Council in the White House, where after 9/11, he channeled volunteers into programs and projects that have impacted the modern and evolving service culture. John, welcome.
Thank you, Carrie. Nice to be with you.
Can you tell us more about the days after 9/11 and how efforts to help were coordinated?
Sure. So on 9/11, I found myself unexpectedly in the President's Emergency Operations Center below the White House as the Secretary of Transportation was grounding every plane in and coming into the United States. And I went over to the Federal Emergency Management Agency to check up on the response that was ongoing to the Pentagon in New York City and a town we would later learn was called Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And we discovered that senior management was out at a conference in Colorado discussing what would happen if terrorists struck the United States. And yet there were these wonderful civil servants there, the people who serve across administrations and government. And they were doing, they had everything under control. And I brought back to the president for him to sign the emergency declaration releasing aid to all these areas. So that was the first big government response. But literally when I went back to my West Wing office later that day, my emails were full of messages from many people I knew and many people I did not know, expressing, alarm, fear, but also this, you could see very early on, this appetite for people to want to help, protect their country, care for one another. And literally the White House operators, with whom I also spoke the next day, told me thousands of calls were coming into the White House saying, what can we do to help? And how can we volunteer our time and our energy and our resources to knit this country back together and keep it safe and strong?
That's a really huge outpouring of response. I remember when it happened, and everyone that I knew wanted to do something, and I didn't realize people were also reaching out to the White House.
It's true. When I went to Ground Zero, New York City, I met couples who had driven literally for 3-4 straight days from Seattle, from every reach of the country into these areas to set up staging grounds to help serve food and water and beverages to the first responders who were working 24/7. And in fact, there was such an outpouring of love and support and volunteering that they had to set up a trucking operation to take the excess of American compassion away, because it was some of the early efforts were actually interfering with the response efforts, which is typically American, right?
Right.
That all these people, they can't do enough to help. And so the question for me and the president and the country after 9/11 was, I was in the Oval Office and the president looked at me and he said, Bridge, I want an initiative that will build on the millions of acts of kindness and goodness and decency that we're seeing in the country, and will foster a culture of service, citizenship, and responsibility for decades to come. And we went on over the next few months. Actually, within a number of days, the president announced outlets, ways in which Americans could give back, including America's Fund for Afghan Children. Within 6 days of the attacks, he actually went to a mosque, the Islamic Center of Washington, took off his shoes, prayed with the Muslim leaders, and came back and said, Islam is a religion of peace, and the instinct to stereotype and say that all Muslims are dangerous, is a false assumption. And so he calmed the fears of the country and the potential, infighting that might occur. And within a couple of months, we had developed what became the USA Freedom Corps, which was an initiative that provided both full-time national service opportunities through programs like VISTA, Volunteers in Service to America, AmeriCorps, like City Year and Habitat for Humanity, Teach for America, the Peace Corps, and then a new Citizen Corps for Homeland Security that mobilized doctors and pharmacists and dentists and emergency responders and volunteers to help in fire departments, police departments, to prepare for disasters of all kinds, including, unfortunately, at that time, we thought there would potentially be waves of additional terrorism.
Right. So how did that program work? Did people come to sign up to a website, or did they call a number?
They did. We actually discovered that there were about 5 or 6 existing clearinghouses. And what we wanted to do was to build a citizen-centered, single stop, for shopping, for volunteering. So we brought convened the leaders of these clearinghouses in to the White House, and we ended up creating volunteer.gov. So you, Carrie, could go into that system, type in your zip code, Silver Spring, Maryland, and find a wide array. You could type in your interest, mentor or tutor a child, work to clean up a river or park, work in disaster preparedness and response. And you could find literally dozens of opportunities right next door. Or if you wanted, you could say, I want to work on malaria control in Rwanda. And you could go into that system and find nonprofit organizations that deploy Americans abroad, in that case to Rwanda, to work on malaria control. And the president's he's a results-oriented guy. And so every time I briefed him twice a week in the Oval Office, and he would ask me, how are we doing? And I could tell him where we were on the number of Americans who were serving in the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps Vista, the Citizen Corps, the Medical Reserve Corps, all these federally supported programs. But he said, how are we doing on volunteering? And we discovered that the government didn't collect regular information on volunteering. So we put in place, and it still is used every single year, the annual Volunteering in the United States Census report.
Interesting.
And so I can actually tell you, Carrie, that the year after 9/11, we expected volunteering to rise. But volunteering went from 59.8 million Americans, which was about 25 or 6% of the population, up to about 29 to 30% of the population, which is actually a very significant increase. And Americans sustained this spirit of giving and volunteering through about 2006. So 5 years after 9/11, the country was still had this outpouring of this volunteer spirit. And really, it knit us together as a country, across party, across religion, across race, across ethnicity. And frankly and sadly, I think about the times we're in now and how communities are ripping themselves apart over such things. And the election was even quite divisive. And I think we need to resurrect and bring back that spirit of we're all Americans, and fundamental to being an American in our DNA since before our founding has been this spirit of volunteering and service, and not relying on government, but relying on our institutions of civil society and faith-based institutions to care for one another.
9/11 has become a day of remembrance and service, and a national day to pay tribute to victims and honor those who rose up in service in response to the attacks.
There's always room to do good. You gotta look out in life with an aspect of when you're doing good for someone else, there's always gonna be good that comes back towards you.
I believe that community service is very important because it makes you more aware of what's going on around you. It makes you connect with other people.
So today, it's my very first time helping to build a house. So we're basically painting things and then cleaning the whole house before we start putting the floor on.
My mom would tell me, leave this world better than you found it. She passed away a few years ago, and she was really excited for me and my twin brother to join the Boy Scouts. Growing up in Boy Scouts, it taught me that service projects do matter. Doing service to the community is really important in your everyday life, and it helps mold you as a better person, and it also molds people around you to be a better person.
I found a social project back in Brazil. It's called Caritas. They go to really poor places back in my city, Belo Horizonte, and then they teach those kids how to develop skills and basically be a better citizen and learn how to get in college and search for a job.
I love doing what I'm doing, but it's for that person just to feel, and I just want them to feel love and just, hey, I'm helping you and I want to help you more. Just anything you want me to do, I will do it. Just say the word.
Since I was a child, I like to write a lot. And I used to write a lot about how I'm gonna change the world. And I try to do the best things every single day.
It matters because it helps the community. And the community really benefits from these kind of things. It shows the community that there's outreach and there's a group of people out that care.
I don't know the owner of this house, but I know that she's gonna be really happy about our job and she's gonna have a good life living in here. And we're for sure part of that story, so.
It makes me want to go more harder for my town, and I'm going to continue to work with my city, and anything I can do, I'm going to do it.
Whether it's fixing the basketball goal or picking up trash on the side of the road, it's really the giddy feeling you get after knowing you've done a good thing and you've helped people out afterwards.
We're trying to clean up the stream segments that are located on Fairfax campus, and it is very important to do that and control the pollutions at the source. The Land Development Department of Facilities Management has been hosting these stream cleanup and campus cleanup events for the last couple of years. We would really like more help on campus because the population of the campus is increasing. There's a lot of activities going on school, on campus. I think we all need to contribute something into this country, no matter in what way. If we can at least pick up some trash by contributing an hour or an hour and a half, why not? We'll do it.
On Friday, the Office of Civic Engagement held a day of service in honor of those who lost their lives in the September 11th terrorist attacks.
We are engaged in our annual Fall Days of Service around the 9/11 memorial, 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attack.
So this whole weekend is dedicated to the victims of 9/11, and I just want to commemorate them in a way of giving back.
This year, the volunteers gathered at the Boys and Girls Club to do something a little different.
This time we decided to really dig in someplace and try to meet some really acute needs.
We cleaned out basically all of the rooms in here, and as well as that we did we just moved all the carpet out of every room and basically cleaned up, tidied up, do a lot of things a lot of house cleaning work.
Tyler and Seelan both vividly remember where they were when they received the breaking news.
4th grade, Miss Welch's class. I came into class late, and all the teachers were coming out crying and scared. I didn't understand what was going on. Still didn't at that time, being so young.
I was actually a freshman in college going into a geology class, so yeah, I do distinctly.
The Office of Civic Engagement hopes to continue work with the Boys and Girls Club and also get involved with other organizations around the Troy area.
The Boys and Girls Club is just really making a lot of great ways, and we want to be a part of and help it out in many ways as we can. We have a good relationship with the director here, Wayne Buchanan, so we want to just keep that going and help them out in the many ways we can, and as well as other vendors around Troy.
I remember being very fearful of the unknown of what might happen next.
I remember it being like a bad dream.
I remember the plane flying over my head.
I remember kind of hiding my eyes and not looking at the television.
I remember the faces of my colleagues as the building swayed so violently after the plane crash.
I remember flyers of all the missing people.
That is an image that's seared in my mind.
I remember seeing people helping one another.
I think it's pulled the community together.
I remember people talking to each other.
An unbelievable sense of community.
I remember all of us coming together.
It wasn't just a New York thing.
We all were affected in some way.
You just wanted to do something.
I will remember by planting a tree.
I will continue to serve as a volunteer firefighter.
I will remember by taking my daughter to the Bronx Zoo.
I will call my grandmother.
I will clean up my room.
I will.
I will.
I will.
I will make a difference.
How will you remember 9/11? Share your message at 911day.org today.
The 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance was a day where the community truly came together to take something so tragic and then make it positive. Your nails, your hammering, your sweat, and your love transforms into something really tangible, into a house. It's an extraordinary experience.
We wanted to do something that really helped honor the volunteers, and that's why we chose this particular project on 9/11.
When I pulled up and I saw so many volunteers, I was absolutely speechless. Everybody coming together showed me that as Americans, we are amazing.
To have our build on 9/11, to have such engagement and the power of the moments of silence, the power of our community coming together and supporting Yolanda and building this home and building community. It's just such an incredible experience.
My home is being built and it's everything that I imagined, but so much more because I never thought I'd get it this way and have so many people to come out. And I'm so thankful to have it that.
Oh,
I see your happiness. I'm so glad for you.
This is more than a house to me. It's a start at a brand new life, brand new future. I can never repay you enough.
And I would, suggest any affiliate, get involved in this 9/11 Day of Service. The payoff has been immense.
We come together as a family, and that's what Habitat's all about. I think today will stay in everybody's heart.
I'm so blessed, so thankful. Just so happy.
Today we're working with AmeriCorps and CCC teams, all from the southern region and some from the Atlantic region, and also FEMA's joining us too, along with all the conservation corps, so Washington, Texas, Arizona. We're all meeting up at Glen Oaks Senior High in Baton Rouge to all split up into different teams because some teams have been mucking and gutting and some teams this is their first day mucking and gutting.
I'm a part of FEMA Corps, but today on our National Day of Service I get the chance to partake in mucking and gutting with our traditional teams. And normally I get to talk to the applicants that are applying for FEMA face-to-face, but I don't get to see the damage to their homes. So it's a very humbling experience today.
Removing tile, removing floorboards, removing appliances, stuff like that, in order for them to start their rebuilding process.
We were working with American Red Cross, more of delivering to people, so I was not really into the disaster zone. I'm glad to definitely actually be here and getting more hands-on experience.
It's hard work, but it's definitely a really good challenge.
It's good to do a lot of service on a day where we're supposed to remember people that did service for us as a way to give back and say thank you and recognize what they did. I appreciate the fact that I get to help out. I know a lot of families back where I'm from that were affected by Hurricane Sandy, so there really wasn't much that I could do to help. So I'm happy that now that other people have been affected by this flooding, that we can help them now.
One thing that's surprised me since being here is just the kindness of the people of Baton Rouge and of Louisiana. We've had such a warm reception, and I could only hope to bring a little bit of that kindness to them that they've showed us every day.
I just am happy that I get to come out here and help people.
born on 9/11.
I was born on September 11, 2001.
5:26 a.m.
3:39 in the morning.
3 in the morning.
My name's Hillary. I was born, I think, somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on September 11th, 2001 in Norwalk Hospital, which is about 45 minutes away from New York City. I know a lot of people who go to my school who lost their parents or other family members in 9/11. I would hope it can become a day people can look at and they can realize how much things have changed and how the world in general has grown. How things can transform. I like looking for the best in things. If we all do good deeds on 9/11, it'll add up. Doing something good makes me feel good as well. It makes me realize I have the power to change things and that there's really nothing stopping me. It's sort of become a part of who I am. I was born on 9/11. This 9/11 day, remember to do one good deed.